Act 3, Scene 4, the banqueting hall at Forres. So, this is the big banqueting scene that is going to take place after the coronation. So, a celebration of Macbeth's kingship and his ascension to the throne. Um, Very importantly here, this is a moment that potentially is quite positive for Macbeth. It's a chance for him to kind of put a positive new slant on his kingship, a kingship that has been marred by bloodshed since the get-go, because of course he has killed a king, he has killed the chamberlains, he has conspired to kill his best friend. This is his opportunity now to kind of like whitewash all of that, have a great night with his thanes, his earls, and his noblemen. So we get things back on an even keel. So it gets off to a decent start. All his friends are there, and he just says straight away, Macbeth says, "You know your own degrees, sit down, at first and last the hearty welcome." So these men, these thanes, these earls would have known their place, and they would have known at what time to sit, etc. So they do that like in terms of rank and stature. And the Lord say, "Thank you, your majesty." Macbeth says, "Ourself will mingle with society and play the humble host. Our hostess keeps her state, but in best time we will require her welcome. So I will mingle upon my guest, among my guests for now, and Lady Macbeth, or the new queen, will mingle what she wishes." Lady Macbeth. "Pronounce it for me, sir. To all our friends, my heart speaks they are welcome." So, always the queen of hostessing. She is there and she is fully embracing the role of queen and hostess and all that is here, and prepared to put on the best face. Into the corner enters one of the murderers, the first murderer. Macbeth says to Lady Macbeth, "See that they all encounter thee with their hearts' thanks. Both sides are even. Here I'll sit in the midst, be large in mirth, and none will drink a measure to table round." So make sure everybody has a drink, make sure everybody is in good mirth and having good fun. I'll just be a second. And he says to the murderer, "There's blood on thy face." So the first murderer has arrived at this very inopportune moment in the middle of a banquet, and he's covered in blood. The first murderer says, "'Tis Banquo's then." Macbeth says, "'Tis better thee without than he within." Is he dispatched? So better that it would be his blood on your face than within his own body. Is he dispatched? Extremely cavalier there. Is he gone? Is he checked off? "Aye, my lord, his throat is cut. That I did for him." And Macbeth says, "Oh, thou art the best of the cutthroats. Yet he's good that did the like for Flens. If thou didst it, thou art the non-pareil." So if you did the same for Flens, then it's extra good. The first murderer says, "Most royal sir, Flens is escaped." This is going to be very, very bad news for Macbeth, who was trying to lay some distance between himself and the corrupt way in which he started this kingship. So knowing now that Flens, the potential, heir to many, many thrones, has escaped, is going to put him back to square one. Macbeth. "Then comes my fit again." So I'm getting all paranoid again. "I had else been perfect, whole as the marble, founded as the rock, as broad and general as the casing air. But now I am cabined, cribbed, confined, bound to saucy doubts and fears." But Banquo is safe. So he's saying, "Now I'm in prison again. I thought I was free for a moment there, but now I'm imprisoned again with these thoughts of Fleance and what Fleance's potential lineage could come about, or how could come about." So Fleance's dynasty is still a possibility here. First murderer says, "Aye, my good lord, safe in the ditch he bides, with 20 trenched gashes on his head, the least a death to nature." So underline that, 20 gashes. That does seem excessive. So that is the extent of the kind of murderous, kind of blood-soaked goings on that we're seeing. And it's this very, very violent reference. 20 gashes in this man. Macbeth says, "Thanks for that. There the grown serpent lies, the worm that's fled. Hath nature in time, will venom breed, no teeth for present." So the worm, i.e. Banquo, is gone. He's dead. But the serpent who is Banquo is dead, but the worm, i.e. his son, is still alive and for now has no teeth, but who knows? Who's to say? So he's a threat for the future. Get thee gone. Tomorrow we'll hear ourselves again. So we'll talk further, but for now go. I'm in the middle of a banquet. So Eggs is the first murderer. Lady Macbeth comes over to him. Like, he is supposed to be on. He is like hosting this massive banquet and he is supposed to be on. So she comes over. My royal lord, you do not give the cheer. The feast is sold that is not even vouched while 'tis a making. 'Tis given with welcome. To feed were best at home, from thence the sauce to meat is ceremony. So she says, you haven't given the cheer, you haven't given the toast to kind of open this banquet. These guys would have been better off staying at home. There's a ceremony to this and you're missing out on it. So what we see there is Lady Macbeth really asserting her dominance again and getting him back into the zone and saying, get your stuff together here. Meeting were bare without it, so come on, get to it. And then we see onto the stage the ghost of Banquo enter. Now Macbeth doesn't see him straight away. And in fact, Macbeth is the only one who will be able to see him. Nobody else is going to be able to see him. But the audience sees him as well. And he sits in Macbeth's seat. So Macbeth says to his wife, first of all, oh, sweet remembrancer, now good digestion, wait on appetite and health on both. So he delivers his cheer. And Lennox says, may it please your highness, sit. So, Lennox tells his highness to sit down. Macbeth says, here had we now our country's honour roofed, where the graced person of our Banquo present, who may I rather challenge for unkindness than pity for mischance. So I have everybody under my roof here, the greatest of the land under my roof. Save Macduff, who didn't come, who was invited but didn't come. But Banquo was supposed to be like the chief guest and the guest of honour, and he hasn't shown up. And Macbeth is being really, really duplicitous here and saying, well, I hope that something has cropped up, that he's not, I'm sure this is not rudeness, And Ross says, his absence, sir, lays blame upon his promise, meaning he did promise to come. Please it your highness to grace us with your royal company, so do sit, be with us, be among us. Macbeth says, the table's full. Lennox says, but here's a place reserved, sir, so there's a seat right there for you. And Macbeth says, where? Here, my good lord. What is it that moves your highness? So what's wrong? So of course, Macbeth has now looked at the supposedly empty seat and has seen the ghost of Banquo. Macbeth, which one of you have done this? The lords, what, my lord? To Banquo's ghost. Thou canst not say I did it. Never shake your gory locks at me. So you can't say I did it. I didn't do it. And don't be shaking your gory locks at me. So Banquo is actually smeared and covered in blood. And he is, but only Macbeth can see him, which is very, very, very disconcerting for the audience who are seeing Macbeth having a visceral response to a vacant space. Ross says, gentlemen, rise, his highness is not well. So they're embarrassed because, of course, he is their king, and there is an etiquette involved in kingship, and you don't betray your emotions like this. And they want to get out of there because they are feeling, like they're embarrassing him, they're embarrassed by themselves. And Lady Macbeth says, no, sit, worthy friends. My lord is often thus, and hath been from his youth. Pray you keep seat. The fit is momentary. Upon a thought, he will be well again. So, Lady Macbeth, back in the driver's seat here. No, everybody sit. It'll be fine. You will actually embarrass him and mortifying if you get up, because this is just a wee fit that he has from time to time. He's had it from his youth. It'll be over in a moment. So again, Lady Macbeth really able to kind of control the situation and get everybody to sit. If you much note him, you shall offend him and extend his passion, so you'll make it worse if you look at him too much. Feed and regard him not. So eat up and don't worry about it. It'll be over in a moment. And then she says, aside to Macbeth, are you a man? So again with the emasculation, Are you a man? Like, what is going on with you that you are doing this? You are really making a show out of yourself here. And Macbeth says, aside to Lady Macbeth, aye, and a bold one, that dare look on that which might appall the devil. So he's making references here to the devil, and he's seeing this ghost, and he doesn't know where it's coming from, and he is really, really, really challenged. Lady Macbeth says, "Oh, proper stuff. This is the very painting of your fear. This is the air-drawn dagger which you said led you to Duncan." So a similar kind of idea, like you're drowning in superstition again. You're imagining this apparition here just like you imagined the dagger beforehand. Oh, these flaws and starts, impostors to true fear, would well become a woman's story at a winter's fire. So underline that, would well become a woman's story at a winter's fire. So this idea that, again, he's becoming a woman, and she's emasculating him and telling him to just, come on now, act like a man, and of course, be a king. Authorised by her grandam, shame itself. Why do you make such faces? When all's done, you look but on a stool. So, of course, even Lady Macbeth is saying, look, all you're doing is looking at a stool. Why are you freaking out so much? It's only Macbeth that can see the ghost. Macbeth says, prithee see there. Look, behold, look. How say you? And then he speaks to Banquo's ghost. Why? What care I? If thou canst nod, speak too. If charnel houses and our graves must send those that we bury back, our monuments shall be maws of kites. So I don't care if you can speak or speak back to me. You're in the afterlife. You can't affect me. And now exits the ghost. Lady Macbeth, what? Quite unmanned in folly. So again, emasculating him here. The references to gender are so important in this text, and we have one there. So you're unmanned, like you're becoming a woman, in folly, in foolishness. Macbeth says, if I stand here, I saw him. Like, if I'm standing here, I did see this man. Oh, fie for shame. This is Lady Macbeth. And Macbeth says aside, blood hath been shed ere now, and in the olden time, ere human stature purged the gentle wheel, aye, since too, murders have been performed, too terrible for the ear. The times has been that when the brains were out, the man would die, and there an end. So there was a time when, if there was an honest battle, it could happen and then be over. But now they rise again. So now he's saying, I'm actually being plagued now by this ghost, and nothing is put to rest. So he's in perpetual fear and paranoia, and he can't be happy because he has done the most heinous thing, and he knows it. And there an end. But now they rise again with 20 mortal murderers in their crowns, and push us from our stools. This is more strange than such a murder is. So he's really, really confused and thrown by what he has seen. Lady Macbeth, my worthy lord, your friends do lack you. Get back in the zone. Come on, get back in your head here. Your friends are lacking you. Like you have a duty to be the great host here. You are their king. They expect you to lead them. Macbeth says, I do forget. Do not muse at me. He tries to get it back together. Do not muse at me, my most worthy friends. I have such a strange infirmity, which is nothing to those who know me. Come, love and health to all, and then I'll sit down. Give me some wine. Full. So he's really trying to get back into the zone and, get back into the party, but re-enters the ghost. I drink to the general joy of the whole table, and to our friend Banquo, whom we miss, whom he were here to all and him we thirst, and all to all. And the lords say, our duties and the pledge, so they reciprocate the toast. And Macbeth then says to the ghost, avaunt and quit my sight. Let the earth hide thee. Thy bones are marrowless, thy blood is cold. Thou hast no speculation in those eyes, which thou dost glare with. So get out of my sight. Your marrow is gone, your blood is cold, you have no sight in your eyes, get out of my face, get out of my sight. And Lady Macbeth says, think of this, good peers, but as a thing of custom, 'tis no other. Only it spoils the pleasure of the time. So again, she's trying very, very, very under pressure here, but trying to, keep the thing jovial and trying to tell the other lords that this is all just fine. It's a bit of a game or whatever. And Macbeth says, what man dare I dare? Approach thou like a rugged Russian bear, the armed rhinoceros, or the Hyceran tiger. Take any shape but that, and my firm nerves shall never tremble. So if, he's not afraid of tigers, he's not afraid of killing or of battles, but he is afraid of this ghost. Or be alive again, and dare me to the desert with thy sword. If trembling I inhabit then, protest me, the baby of a girl. Hence, horrible shadow, unreal mockery. Hence, so he's telling him, get out of here. I am, come back to life and challenge me to a duel. Do anything, but just get out of my face. This is too much. Exits the ghost. Why so being gone? I am a man again. Pray you all sit still. Lady Macbeth says, you have displaced the mirth, so you have destroyed the party. Like you've wrecked the mirth or the fun. Broke the good meeting. With most admired disorder. So you have been they're really staring at you. You've ruined it all. Macbeth says, can such things be and overcome us like summer's cloud without our special wonder? You make me strange even to the disposition that I owe. When now I think you can behold such sights and keep the natural ruby of your cheeks, when mine is blanched with fear. And that's an interesting comparison between Macbeth and Lady Macbeth. He is blanched with fear. He is terrified and pale, whereas she has the ruby of her cheeks. She's still keeping her composure. She's still the powerful leader that we've seen. Now, she had sort of disappeared from power a little bit at the beginning of the act, and certainly in Act 2, where he was basically taking matters into his own hands. But now she's back in control. It is important, though, to note that this control she has may not last forever. Ross says, what sights, my lord? Lady Macbeth says, I pray you speak not. He grows worse and worse. Question enrages him. At once, good night. Stand not upon the order of your going, but go at once. So Lady Macbeth realises she's lost the fight to win the banquet. Like the banquet is destroyed now. So she says to them all, just get up. Don't worry about your ranks and your stature. Just get up in your own time and out the door, because this banquet's over. It's ruined. Lennox says, good night and better health attend his majesty. Lady Macbeth, a kind good night to all. Exit lords and attendants. So Macbeth and Lady Macbeth left on the stage together. Macbeth. It will have blood, they say. Blood will have blood. Highlight that quotation. Blood will have blood. This idea that you can't spill somebody's blood without spilling more and more. Same principle as if you have to tell one lie, you have to tell another one and another one. And this is the idea here. I did this the wrong way. By killing the king, I had to kill the chamberlains. Then I had to kill Banquo. Where will it end? I'm steeped in blood. Stones have been known to move and trees to speak, augurs to understand relations. Have, by maggot pies, chos, rooks, brought forth the secretest man of blood. What is the night? Lady Macbeth says, almost at odds with morning. Which is which? Macbeth says, how sayest thou? Macduff denies his person at our great bidding. So now it's kind of like it's hitting him a little bit later on. Like he hadn't mentioned it at the banquet or beforehand, but Macduff has also, refused to come to my feast. Now it is important, you'll recall the irony of his statement when he said to Banquo, fail not our feast. Of course, and ironically, Banquo does not fail his feast. He does come in ghost format. But Macduff, on the other hand, has actually just taken the decision just not to come, okay? And it's a snub. It's a very serious snub. Lady Macbeth says, well, did you send for him? I hear it by the way, this is Macbeth. I hear it by the way, but I will send. There's not a one of them, but in his house I keep a servant feed. So that's important as well. Another aspect of his paranoia growing, underlining there, there's not one of them in his house. I keep a servant feed, but I keep a servant feed. So like basically, I pay servants in every one of these Thanes houses to report back to me. Absolute paranoia, tyranny, dictatorship, unease. This is Macbeth. This is the new Macbeth. I will tomorrow, and betimes I will, to the weird sisters. And that's important. I need solace. I need comfort. I need reassurance. So I'm going to find the witches again. So he's going back to them to get his reassurance. More shall they speak, for now I am bent to know by the worst means the worst, for mine own good, all causes shall give way. And this is a very important quotation for highlighting. I am in blood, steeped in so far that should I wade no more, returning were as tedious as go over. So I'm if you can imagine, he's halfway through like a swampy river, and it would be as tedious to go back as to go forward. So he is bogged down in the blood and the paranoia of his reign. And there's no comfort in going back or in going forward. He's stuck. Strange things I have in the head, that will to hand, which must be acted ere they may be scanned. So he's going now to the witches to get any kind of solace he can. This is inadvisable because, of course, they speak in equivocal language and they're not exactly trustworthy. But for some reason, they will give him the comfort that he needs because their prophecies came true. Lady Macbeth, you lack the season of all natures, sleep. So she's saying, look, the big thing here is that you haven't had any sleep. You need to get some sleep. But she herself seems very weary here. As I said earlier in the scene, she was in control. She was back kind of like being lady, dominant Lady Macbeth, etc. But you can see now it's taking its toll on her and she's getting tired of this. And I mean, the aftermath of the murder is taking its toll on her as well. Macbeth says, come, we'll to sleep. My strange and self-abuse is the initiative fear that wants hard use. We are yet but young indeed. So a really dismal scene. I mean, you might even feel sorry for them at this moment. They're not happy. Macbeth was really hoping that the banquet would be like, the beginning of something new and promising. But instead, of course, his paranoia has just gotten the better of him completely. The element of the superstitious, is extremely important there as well. The Elizabethan audience would have been very, very taken with the ghost and the reference to, the afterlife, etc. So it's a really important scene, but it's important also just to recognize how kind of weary they both are. She's tired. I mean, she's still able to assert herself, to dominate, but it's taking more out of her. Had he not resembled my father, I'd have done it. We do recall that humanity that she had, and maybe there's a limit to how much she's able to put up with.